So welcome to the third instalment of these 15-minute desk yoga sessions, and so far we've focused on a head and shoulders themed session where we've been looking at the kind of sensory aspects of our fingers, our palms, our hands, how we can use them to kind of find connection with different parts of the body and create space in the body as well, and really connect with our breathing. We've also done a session around round the clock, so working with the desk in particular, working around different positions to kind of create different shapes and stretch our body in a way that kind of is supported through muscle release as we integrate those movements with our breath. And so for this third instalment, we're going to be focusing on the lower body. So this is themed as a lower body loosener. And basically these are the kind of stretches that I do quite often when I'm at my desk working all day. And particularly when I'm on video calls, you know, and you're often kind of staring back at someone who's just static, or many people that just aren't moving at all. And it's a great way of doing these kind of positions and stretches without anyone really noticing, but still paying attention to what's going on your screen. So we'll be taking the stool away from us. I'll be shifting the camera down a little bit just so you can see down towards the floor. And then we'll finish off with some kind of breath awareness and body awareness, and really focus on our feelings and sensations again before we finish the session. So we're going to start with our hands on our hips, our knees below our hips, and the objective is, and we're facing forward towards the desk, and the objective is to move that right foot forward towards the desk as we move into this first hip opening pose. Now there's a couple of ways we can do this. We can either just lift that right knee off the floor and just step the right foot forward, okay? Or if that feels uncomfortable at all, or really challenging, then just taking the left hand down towards the side, just outside the left hip, and then bringing that right foot forward. We still end up in the same position, we just do it in a different way. Okay, so when we arrive in that position, we then want to start walking the right foot forward until we feel the hips sinking down and that stretch just start to intensify along the back of the right leg, along the inside of the right thigh, but as importantly, and maybe even more importantly, that opening that's now being created along the inside of the left thigh and the left hip. Okay, taking the hands now out along the desk, so fingers pointing forward, and just pressing down through the hands to enable you to lengthen up along the upper body, crown of the head up towards the ceiling, shoulders nice and relaxed, away from the ears. Okay, so now we've found our foundation in this pose. Options to either keep the toes on that back foot tucked under, or to intensify the stretch that little bit more and tuck the toes, and then start feeling the hips sinking forward and down in whichever variation you've taken towards the floor. So still maintaining that length in the upper body. And again, as you deepen into this hip opening stretch, you might find you can walk that right foot that little bit further forward towards the desk. And I find this position works really well for me. You know, if I'm on a Zoom call, that kind of thing, I'll have the laptop in front of me. People can just see my head and shoulders. But equally, I'm able to kind of move into this hip opening stretch and just create that little bit more space in the mid body and just support any release of tension over this area that's so prone to that restriction in space. Now once you feel like you've gone in this position for long enough, just slowly lifting the hips back and start straightening that right leg. So you might need to just move that left knee over a little bit further just to keep the hips aligned facing forward towards the desk, and then start rolling on to the back of the right heel. Now as you do so, still keeping the hands flat down on the desk, maintaining that length along the spine, space across the chest, crown of the head lifting up. Toes on the right foot now pointing up towards the ceiling. Toes actually reaching back towards that right shin will help to intensify the stretch all the way from the right heel up towards the right hip. You might be able to start walking the fingers back forward again, folding forward over that straight front leg, and just to introduce a subtle bend in that right knee if you need to, if it feels particularly uncomfortable. So again, when we're sitting for extended periods, we often find that our hamstrings shorten, and so this is a great way of kind of lengthening them back out again. And typically we would kind of want to hold this position for about 30 seconds or so. So still maintaining that length, inhaling to lengthen, exhaling as we fold forward. And each time you might find you're able to go that little bit further forward towards that right foot with the upper body. But again, just go as far as feels comfortable to you. And just working within that kind of intensity of the stretch just so that it remains comfortable. And comfortably challenging is probably the best way to describe it. Now slowly landing that right foot back down on the floor, bending the right knee. We're going to keep our hands on the desk and then slowly take our right knee back towards the left, and we just take a moment in this position. So again, we just take our knees back underneath the hips, just rocking from side to side, hands onto the hips again, and we're going to do the same on the left hand side this time. So the options are there for you. You can either take the left foot forward, straight forward towards the desk, or support the right hand, just taking the left foot forward in that way. Okay, so again, we both and all arrive in the same position. We just do it in different ways and working within the boundaries of our own body. So as we arrive into this position, again, taking our hands back onto the desk, feeling that length along the spine, crown of the head lifting up, left toes now forward, maybe even walking those left toes that little bit further forward towards the desk as we deepen into that stretch all the way along the back and the inside of the left thigh, and also more importantly that opening across the inside of the right thigh. And again, option to keep the back toes tucked under or untuck them and just have that right foot flat down on the floor. And again, maintaining that length in the upper body as you sink the hips forward and down along the inside of the left thigh, and just keeping the inner thighs again drawing in towards the center line. And if it feels unstable at all, and sometimes it does in these kind of lunging positions, then feel free just to widen the stance. So left foot that little bit further out, right knee that little bit further in the opposite direction, and it will just help kind of give you that support. But hopefully the desk is doing enough to kind of keep you upright. And as we did before, inhaling to lengthen, lifting up through the upper body, exhaling to sink the hips forward, down towards the floor. And again, just each time, just creating that little bit more space across the hips. Now slowly lifting the hips back again and start extending, lengthening the left leg. And if you've untucked the toes on that back foot, then tucking them back under again, still keeping the hands across the table, across the desk, rolling onto the back of the left heel, left toes now pointing up towards the ceiling. Adjusting yourself so you're in a position in which the upper body feels like it's lengthening up. Pressing down through the little fingers here will help to just turn the upper arms away from the shoulders just to create a little bit more space in that part of the body. Elbow creases reaching up towards the ceiling. And as before, inhaling to lengthen and exhaling to fold the upper body forward over that front leg, and just to intensify that stretch now all the way along from the left heel all the way up towards the left hip socket. And we'll hold this for about another 5 breaths. And slowly bending that left knee again now. We keep our hands on the edge of the desk as we take our left knee now back towards the right. We take our hands back onto our hips again and we just shake from side to side just for a moment. And now in our final position before we return back to the seated position, we're going to do a standing downward dog. So a familiar pose from doing yoga sessions, using the support of the desk here. This is the kind of pose you could do against a wall as well as a desk. To be honest, any flat surface around the house. And so we'll just walk ourselves in that little bit closer towards the desk, just to a distance at which you can kind of land the hands down onto the surface in front of you. And then with our toes tucked under, we start slowly lifting ourselves up. And this will just take a little bit of adjustment just to get into the right position. So you're looking for the feet underneath the hips, arms extended out in front of you, lowering the head down between the upper arms, and just a subtle bend in the knees now and sticking the bum back towards the opposite side of the room, and then straightening those legs out just to intensify the stretch again, all the way from the hips to the heels, and also from the hips all the way along towards the fingers as we lengthen along the side of the upper body. Really feel as though you're breathing into the back body through the seated or the standing forward fold, similar to the seated forward fold we did at the start of the sessions, in that head and shoulders session. And really feel as though the chest is reaching down towards the floor. Again, the little fingers pressing down, upper arms rolling away from the shoulders. And that length that you're creating all the way along the back of the legs. And then slowly start lifting yourself back up again, bending the knees and taking yourself back down towards the floor again. And I'm going to bring myself now back onto the stool that I started the first of the sessions. Okay, I'll just adjust the camera back up again. Okay, let's just see how we're doing. Perfect. Move myself back into the middle. Great stuff. So there we are. We're at the end of the third of the sessions, and we're going to end where we began by bringing our attention back to our hands. So the sensory aspects of our hands and that connection through different parts of the body. So we're going to bring one palm across the heart. We're going to bring the other palm on top. We're going to slowly close our eyes, allow our elbows just to draw in towards the side body again. And just starting to settle back into this space. The time we have taken out today, either for 1, 2 or 3 of these mini sequences, these mini desk yoga sequences that I've made available on YouTube. Feeling the warmth, the palms wrapping around the heart. Maybe that little bit warmer now to going through these sequences today. The heart beating back through the palms, along the body, maybe just that little bit stronger, maybe just that little bit faster. And just trying to slow down the heart rate again. And a great way of doing that is just by slowing and steadying the breath. And we can support that now by moving the hands back down across the belly button, keeping those elbows tucked in alongside the body, just to create that little bit more space across the chest. And just again, feeling each breath, each time we inhale, belly expanding and filling the palms. Lift and lightness in the body. And each time as we breathe out, we feel the belly empty away from the palms, body gets heavy, sinks down towards the chair and the floor beneath us. Just taking a moment now with these final few breaths that we've got together, just to be proud of the fact you've taken this small amount of time out of your busy day for one of these mini desk yoga sessions brought to you by Yoga Dad. And just slowly opening the eyes again, nice soft gaze. And there we are, bringing the hands back across the knees. I hope you've really enjoyed this session or any number of these sessions today.